For most of her life, Shanaz had believed that love was something you protected quietly, like a fragile glass ornament placed high on a shelf where no one could reach it. At 59 years old, she had spent nearly 4 decades building a home, raising 2 children, and standing faithfully beside her husband, Rashid. Their marriage had not been perfect, but it had been steady, and she had always told herself that steadiness was enough. She had sacrificed her own dreams of becoming a schoolteacher to support Rashid's small business, and she had endured long nights alone when he traveled for work. She had trusted him completely, believing that loyalty was the foundation of everything meaningful in life. But trust, she would learn, is not something that breaks loudly. It cracks in silence. The truth came to her not through confrontation, but through whispers. A neighbor's hesitant glance, a late-night phone call Rashid quickly ended when she entered the room, the faint scent of unfamiliar perfume lingering on his jacket. At first, Shanaz blamed her own imagination. After all, she had always believed that suspicion was a poison that could destroy even the strongest relationships. Yet the uneasiness in her heart refused to disappear. One evening, as she folded laundry, Rashid's phone buzzed on the table beside her. She had never in her life checked his phone, but that night, something inside her trembled with quiet fear. The message on the screen was simple yet devastating. "I miss you. When will I see you again?" Her hands shook as she placed the phone back where it had been. She did not scream. She did not cry. Instead, she felt an overwhelming stillness, as though the world around her had frozen. The woman who had spent her entire life protecting her marriage now found herself staring at the painful reality of true infidelity. It was not the betrayal alone that hurt her. It was the realization that all her sacrifices had not guaranteed faithfulness. She had given her youth, her ambitions, and her unwavering support, believing that love would be returned in equal measure. That night, she sat alone on the edge of her bed, staring at the wall, wondering how something so carefully built could feel so fragile. The days that followed were heavy with silence. Rashid avoided her eyes, and she avoided asking questions she was afraid to hear answered. Their home, once filled with the comfort of routine, now felt like a place of strangers. Shanaz moved through her chores mechanically, her heart burdened with pain she did not know how to express. She worried about what people would say, about how her children would react, about whether her entire life had been a lie. More than anything, she felt a deep loneliness that she had never experienced before. One rainy afternoon, while Rashid was out, the doorbell rang. Shanaz wiped her hands on her apron and opened the door to find a young delivery driver standing there, holding a small package. He looked no older than 25, with kind eyes and a respectful smile. "Madam, delivery for you," he said politely. She signed the receipt and thanked him softly. As she turned to close the door, he hesitated and added, "I hope your day gets better." She looked at him, surprised. "Why would you say that?" she asked gently. He smiled again and replied, "Sometimes we can see sadness in someone's eyes. My mother used to say that offering kind words costs nothing, but can mean everything." His words touched her in a way she had not expected. It had been days since anyone had noticed her pain, let alone acknowledged it. She thanked him again and closed the door, holding the small package in her hands. It was from her daughter, who lived in another city. Inside was a warm shawl and a handwritten letter. In the letter, her daughter wrote about gratitude, about how much she admired her mother's strength and patience, about how she had learned the meaning of love by watching Shanaz endure life's hardships with grace. "You are the strongest woman I know," the letter read. "No matter what happens, please remember that your worth does not depend on anyone else's choices." As she read those words, tears finally fell. Not tears of weakness, but of release. She realized that her entire identity had been tied to being a loyal wife, and in doing so, she had forgotten her own value as an individual. The unexpected kindness from a young stranger and the heartfelt letter from her daughter began to awaken something within her, a quiet strength she had long overlooked. Over the next few weeks, the same delivery driver came by occasionally with parcels from neighbors. Each time, He greeted her with the same respectful warmth. One day, she offered him a glass of water, and they spoke briefly. He told her about his struggles, about how he worked long hours to support his widowed mother and younger sister. Life isn't easy, he said with a thoughtful smile, but giving up on kindness makes it harder. His words stayed with her long after he left. Shahnaz began to reflect deeply on her marriage. She realized that while Rashid's betrayal had wounded her, she did not want to allow bitterness to define the rest of her life. She deserved honesty, respect, and dignity. One evening, she gathered the courage to speak to him. Her voice trembled, but her words were steady. She told him she knew about the other woman. She did not shout or accuse. She simply asked for the truth. Rashid's silence was confession enough. He admitted that he had felt distant, that he had sought attention elsewhere instead of addressing the growing gap between them. His explanation did not erase the pain, but it gave her clarity. Shahnaz told him that love could survive many things, but not without effort from both sides. She made it clear that forgiveness was possible, but only if accompanied by genuine repentance and commitment to rebuilding trust. For the first time in years, they spoke openly about their fears, disappointments, and unmet needs. It was not an easy conversation, but it was honest. In the months that followed, Rashid ended his outside relationship and began making visible efforts to repair the damage he had caused. He accompanied Shahnaz on evening walks, helped with household chores, and listened when she spoke. He apologized repeatedly, not just in words but through actions. Shahnaz, too, worked on healing her wounded heart. She attended community gatherings, reconnected with old friends, and even volunteered at a local literacy center, rediscovering her passion for teaching. The young delivery driver continued to greet her with kindness, unaware of how deeply his simple compassion had influenced her journey. One day, before leaving, he handed her a small handwritten note. "My mother says thank you for the food you sent," it read. She had begun sending small homemade meals for his family, a gesture of gratitude for his encouragement. The exchange of kindness between them was pure and respectful, a reminder that goodness still existed in the world. Gradually, Shahnaz realized that true infidelity is not only the act of betrayal between spouses, but also the betrayal of one's own self-worth. For years, she had been unfaithful to her own dreams and desires, placing everyone else's needs above her own. The unexpected gift she received from the young delivery driver was not material. It was the reminder that compassion and dignity are powerful forces. It was the awakening of her belief in herself. Her marriage did not magically return to what it once had been. Trust had to be rebuilt slowly, like stitching together torn fabric. Some days were harder than others. Yet through patience, honest communication, and mutual effort, they began to form a new understanding of love, one rooted not only in habit, but in conscious choice. On her 60th birthday, Rashid surprised her with a small celebration at home. Their children joined through video call, and laughter once again filled the house. As she looked around the room, Shahnaz felt something she had not felt in a long time: peace. Not because everything was perfect, but because she had faced pain with courage and chosen growth over despair. Later that evening, as she folded the shawl her daughter had sent, she thought about the journey of the past year. She had discovered that love is not about blind endurance, nor is it about pride. It is about respect, respect for one another and for oneself. Betrayal can break a heart, but it can also awaken a deeper understanding of strength. The young delivery driver's unexpected kindness had reminded her that even strangers can play a role in our healing, and that sometimes the smallest gestures carry the greatest impact. Shahnaz understood now that life does not end with disappointment. It transforms. She had learned that forgiveness is not weakness, but a deliberate decision to free oneself from the chains of anger. She had learned that rebuilding trust requires both humility and responsibility. Most importantly, she had learned that her worth had never depended on someone else's loyalty. As the night grew quiet, she whispered a silent prayer of gratitude for her children, for the lessons of hardship, for the chance to rediscover herself. The pain of infidelity had shaped her, but it had not destroyed her. Instead, It had revealed the depth of her resilience and the power of patient love. And so, the true gift she received was not wrapped in paper or delivered in a package. It was the awakening of her own strength, the reminder that kindness can heal invisible wounds, and the understanding that no matter how late in life it may seem, it is never too late to choose dignity, honesty, and hope.